Feel it in my bones, even when I'm alone.
As of today, we are officially 20 days until the start of the 2020 to 2021 NBA season. For teams that went on deep playoff runs in the bubble, this will be the shortest off-season in recent memory. Then there are other teams that did not meet the requirements to enter the NBA bubble, so they haven't played meaningful, organized NBA basketball since March. During this shortened season, the NBA draft and the start of free agency happened within 2 days of each other, and during that span of time, trades were being formally agreed upon and conducted. So it feels like the makeup of teams throughout the league seemingly shifted overnight. Throughout the month of December, I will be previewing every NBA team before the first games on December 22nd, meaning I will be posting every day until the season kicks off. 30 teams in 21 days. The preseason preview series. The next team on the list is the Toronto Raptors. Last season, the Toronto Raptors finished 53-19, putting them at second in the Eastern Conference. They were eliminated by the Boston Celtics in 7 games in the second round. Their top performers were Kyle Lowry, Pascal Siakam, and Fred VanVleet. Kyle Lowry posted about 19.5 points per game, about 7.5 assists and 5 rebounds, and he racked up about a steal and a half a game. He shot about 35% from three-point land on about 8 attempts per game. Kyle Lowry's never been a player to really shoot efficiently from the field, but he's always been one of those players who is a bit more than his stat line says. Even though he had a very impressive stat line, Kyle Lowry is a guy who's going to do all of the little things required to win games and to win playoff series, as we've seen in the past. He's starting to get a bit older. I think he's approaching the age of 34, so we'll have to see if he can still retain the same fire and passion and skill that he's played with over the past couple years. Pascal Siakam put up about 23 points per game, 7 rebounds, 3.5 assists, got about a steal and a block per game, shot 45% from the field and 36% from 3 on about 6 attempts per game. This was Pascal Siakam's first year as the guy on the team. With Kawhi Leonard leaving, there was a lot of spotlight on Pascal Siakam to see if he could be that #1 scoring option on a successful team, and he kind of passed the test because you don't have to only win a championship to be successful as a team. They were the literal second seed in the Eastern Conference, behind the Milwaukee Bucks, which was a team that many believe was the best team in the league. Even though they did not win the championship and Pascal Siakam kind of struggled in the playoffs, he was successful as the #1 option throughout the regular season, and I think him having that year of experience as the guy for an entire season and entire playoffs can only bode well for him going in the future because he knows what to expect and how to adjust in next postseason. Fred VanVleet put up about 7. Wait. Oh my god, I do this every damn time. Fred VanVleet put up about 17.5 points per game, 6.5 assists, about 4 rebounds, and got 2 steals, shooting about 39% from 3 on about 7 attempts. Fred VanVleet is one of those players in the NBA that has literally improved every year. This year was no different, a big improvement, especially with Kawhi Leonard leaving. He and Pascal Siakam faced a lot more responsibility for putting the ball in the hoop, and they delivered. Like Kyle Lowry, Fred VanVleet didn't really shoot particularly efficient from the field, but he shot very well from 3, shooting 39% from 3 on about 7 attempts per game, where a lot of those 3-point looks are created from his own shot creation. That is a tremendous percentage. And the 2 steals per game just proves how much of a defensive menace Fred VanVleet is. He's about a 6'1 or 6'2 point guard playing the shooting guard position. He's still making everybody on the opposition work. Fred VanVleet and Kyle Lowry in the same backcourt is like 2 pit bulls in the same backcourt because they're both the same size and they both play with the same tenacity on defense. In my opinion, their more interesting players are the 2 young, emerging players on their team, OG Anunoby and Terrence Davis. OG Anunoby, another player who has continued to improve every year he's been in the league. He put up about 10.5 points per game, 1.5 steals per game, and he shot 50.5% from the field and 39% from 3 on about 3.5 attempts. In my opinion, OG Anunoby still has a lot of potential to untap, and I think he could eventually become one of the better, if not best, 3-and-D forwards in the entire league one day. I think he, Jonathan Isaac are 2 players, 2 young emerging wings that can be in that category for best 3-and-D forward going in the future. Terrence Davis in about 17 minutes per game put up 7.5 points per game, 3.5 rebounds, 1.5 assists, shooting 45.5% from the field and 39% from 3 on about 3.5 attempts per game. But if you look at his per 100 possession numbers, he scores 21.5 points per game, gets about 9 rebounds per 100, racks up about 4.5 assists per 100, and gets about 1.5 steals per 100. Terrence Davis was a rookie this year or last year, so his per 100 numbers prove just the amount of impact he was able to make in limited time. In the offseason, the Toronto Raptors did not make any trades, but their main draft pick, I think at 29, was Malachi Flynn, my boy out of San Diego State University. I think that's a great draft pick, especially for Toronto. I mean, any draft pick for Toronto will probably turn out well because they're just so great at discovering, scouting, and drafting talent and really nurturing that talent over time. I think Malachi Flynn is somebody that can come in and improve, and then he's also somebody that can come in and provide right away because I think he was a 3-year, I think this was his 3rd year in college. He's just one of those experienced college players that's going to know his role and know how to provide on a contending team right away. In free agency, Toronto lost Ibaka and Marc Gasol, so they kind of had to replace their big man depth. So they brought in Alex Len and Aaron Baines. They brought back Chris Boucher. I don't know the exact contract that he got, but the big free agency news for Toronto was that they brought back Drake. I mean, they brought back Fred VanVleet. Fred VanVleet made it known that he was going to be seeking a long-term big bag from any team if it wasn't Toronto, but Toronto was willing to fork over the cash to bring back Fred VanVleet. I think he signed a 4-year, $75 million contract. Apologies, no, he signed a 4-year, $85 million contract, so a bit more than $20 million per year, and I think that's a good contract for what you're getting from Fred VanVleet. I think that's around what he is valued at, 20 or 21 million per year. So thinking about this signing, I don't know if this jeopardizes the Raptors having cap space for a marquee free agent in 2021 because they're paying Pascal Siakam like somewhere around 30 million per year. Now Fred VanVleet is getting 20 million per year. I think OG Anunoby is going to be a restricted free agent, and I think Kyle Lowry's contract is expiring. Those are the main players that they're paying right now. So I believe if they were to go forward into 2021 without making any trades, just based off of the players they have on their roster right now, they would have a max spot if they just didn't give OG Anunoby his rookie extension and they let Kyle Lowry walk. At the current personnel for this Raptors team, at the guard positions they have Kyle Lowry and Fred VanVleet, and off the bench they have Terrence Davis and Malachi Flynn at the moment. Running their forward positions they have Pascal Siakam, OG Anunoby, Norman Powell, and Chris Boucher, and at the center position replacing Ibaka and Gasol, they have Aaron Baines and Alex Len, their 2 new free agency signings. And coaching them is Nick Nurse, of course. He is a top 5, probably a top 3 coach in the entire league. Next season, I project the starting lineup to be similar to what it was last year. Kyle Lowry and Fred VanVleet in the backcourt, OG Anunoby and Pascal Siakam on the forward positions, and now at the center position probably it will be Aaron Baines because he's a bit more experienced than Alex Len, and in my opinion he's a bit better than Alex Len. Losing Marc Gasol and Serge Ibaka are big losses, and losing Serge Ibaka particularly is a really big loss, so I think that will have an effect on them this year. Even with Pascal Siakam getting better, even with OG Anunoby getting better, Terrence Davis getting better, I do think the loss of those 2 veteran big men will kind of hurt their record, and I think they'll go 43-29, putting them around 6th in the East. Yeah, maybe low-key I'm hating on the Raptors this year. Like I said, those losses are a bit big, and then like other teams in the East are getting better. You already have the Bucks and the Celtics that are still going to be there. The Miami Heat, they didn't really lose anybody too significant, so those are 3 teams that are going to be there. If Philly can stay healthy, they have 2 top 20 players in the league and a really good supporting cast. I think they're going to be a bit surprising to everyone this year because I think everybody just makes it normal to hate on the Philadelphia 76ers, so I think they're going to be a top 5 seed. Brooklyn's going to be healthy. They're bringing in Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, along with Spencer Dinwiddie, Karis LeVert, Jared Allen, DeAndre Jordan, so I think they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. And then you have the Toronto Raptors, who, even with their young ascending talent, they did get worse by losing Serge Ibaka and Marc Gasol, so I do project them to be 6th in the East behind those other 5 teams, but I would not be surprised if they land a top 3 seed because every year the Toronto Raptors just continue to surprise us because people like myself, I guess, underestimate them. I project them to get eliminated in the first round because I just don't think they have as much high-end talent as the other teams in the East, and especially if they do get the 6th seed and they'll have to play a 3 seed, and I project them either playing Milwaukee, Boston, or let's just say Brooklyn. I think those 3 teams definitely have the upper hand on them. Projecting some player stats, I predict Pascal Siakam to put up somewhere around 24 points per game, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, shooting about 46% from the field and 37% from 3. I think Pascal Siakam can stand to improve slightly. I mean, he is another player who's improved every single year. Like, it seems like every Toronto Raptor who's spent a couple years on the team has improved every single year, but I think Pascal Siakam, for him to put up about 23 points per game relatively efficiently in his first year being the go-to guy on a team, I think that's really impressive, and I think him having that experience as the number 1 guy can only help him. So improve slightly with his counting numbers, but I expect a bigger improvement with his efficiency. I think Kyle Lowry will kind of put up the same numbers that he's been putting up the past couple years: 18 points per game, 7 assists per game, about 43% from the field and 36% from 3. I think his counting numbers will go down a bit, but his efficiency will go up a bit because I think Pascal Siakam is really going to take on the mantle as the number 1 guy with him having another year of experience in it. Fred VanVleet, I think, will put up about 19 points per game, 6 assists, shoot about 42% from the field and 39% from 3. I think Fred VanVleet and Pascal Siakam are going to start being the 2 go-to guys on this team, with them ascending and entering their prime, and Kyle Lowry kind of being on the back end of his prime. So I think they're going to take the 2 steps forward while Kyle Lowry takes maybe a half step back. OG Anunoby, I predict to have another improvement of a year. I think he'll put up about 15 points per game, 6 rebounds, get about 1.5 steals per game, and shoot 39% from 3 and 47% from the field. OG Anunoby's, I think his production on the offensive end caps out as a low-end 3rd option, but I think OG Anunoby is best suited as a guy who's your 4th scoring option in your starting lineup, and 15 points per game as a 4th option is really good, and especially if he's doing it efficiently, and OG Anunoby is going to give you 30 plus minutes of elite defense. And then Norman Powell, I think he'll put up about 15 points per game on about 49% from the field and 40% from 3. I think he'll follow up on what he did last year as one of the best 6 men in the league. The Toronto Raptors are definitely contending. Even though I don't think they're at the cream of the crop in the Eastern Conference, they definitely believe so. They have a lot more confidence in themselves, more than the surrounding media and the surrounding NBA onlookers do, because basically everybody on their team has been counted out. Fred VanVleet, I think he was undrafted. Kyle Lowry bounced around from team to team before he found his way to Toronto, and he always plays with that chip in his shoulder. Pascal Siakam, I think he was a late 1st round pick. OG Anunoby, I think he snuck into the lottery if I'm not mistaken, but I'm not entirely sure. Maybe he was mid to late teens. Just the DNA of this Toronto Raptors team is what drives them to contend every year and not to really tank, even though they lost Kawhi Leonard, or they lost Serge Ibaka and Marc Gasol, 2 aging veterans that were very complementary to this team. I don't think they're going to really tank. They're going to continue to compete even with the guys they have, and I think they're confident in their core. After losing Kawhi Leonard, a lot of people projected the Raptors to be around a 6th or 7th seed, or even to miss the playoffs. Yet they responded by shutting everyone up and clinching a 2 seed in the Eastern Conference. Even with losing veteran bigs Marc Gasol and Serge Ibaka, Masai Ujiri did a good job replacing them by bringing in Alex Len and Aaron Baines. The Raptors are still a team with great depth after bringing back Chris Boucher and drafting Malachi Flynn, a prospect who should be ready to contribute early to a contending team. With Kyle Lowry at the back end of his prime, a lot rides on young ascending stars Fred VanVleet and Pascal Siakam to continue Toronto's success into the 2020s. Even though I project them to miss out on home court advantage, the Raptors are a team that you should never count out, and a team that none of the Eastern Conference's elite would want to face in the first round.